Welcome for the today's question and answer session. So it's the third day. As you all know that time is allocated for the Dhamma discussion. So if anyone has any question or any suitable topic for the discussion, I cordially invite for giving the answer for this question. It appears like that only we have to see the 11 facets of the breath. It is not the case. The Buddha has mentioned, whatever the object arises, if you wish to master it, each and everything has these 11 facets. I doubt whether the same thing that the scientists are talking about 11 dimensions now. Some people have tried to see the parallelism between these 11 dimensions. They are talking about the quantum physics. This is also have the time dimension and the space dimension. The time dimension wise, the past, future and the past, the present and the future. Space-wise, far and close. In addition to that, the subtle form, the gross form, the desirable form, undesirable form, in form and out form. So if someone is dealing with the, meditating with the rising and falling, that also has the 11 facets. When you are doing the walking meditation, that also has the 11 facets. So everything has the 11 facets. But the latter part of the question it says, in order to see the middle, do you need the mastery of all the 11 facets, or is it enough to have one or two dimensions? In order to see the middle, the subtle and gross form is the shortest cut. If you know the gross forms of the in-breath and the subtle form of the in-breath, that means gross means when the in-breath becomes middle, it is gross. The beginning and the end is very subtle. So whenever you see the gross form and the subtle form, that means you are bound to see the beginning, the middle and the end. So end of the in-breath is leading you to the middle, and then beginning of the out-breath is the next, and in between you get the medium, the gap. So therefore, to know if your aim is to see only the gap, only one dimension is, or one couple is enough. But when you keep on practicing again and again, you see not only the gap, you see all the characteristic features, intrinsical or private or personal to the in-breath and personal characteristic of the out-breath, which is not, which you don't find in the middle. It is attributable in the gross form of the in-breath and out-breath. So that is also one way of acquaintance with the in-breath and out-breath. So more and more you go to the 11 facets, you see the whole world you can explain through just mere in-breath and out-breath. Everything is there. Once you see the 11 facets, everything you find, the truth of suffering, the cause for the truth of suffering, the liberation from the truth of suffering, and the way leading to the liberation, everything is within the in-breath and out-breath, or within the rising and falling. So therefore, in an incessant way, you have to see each and every upcoming in-breath, each and every oncoming out-breath is a fresh one. You have to see something new in the forthcoming, oncoming in-breath and out-breath. So ever you become diligent, ever you become vigilant, ever you become novelty, to see the next breath is as if it is a completely new one. So therefore the vigilance is keep on going. As far as you are ready to see each and every breath as a new one. So it is to keep you awake, keep you vigilant, keep you diligent, and therefore without feeling boredom, without feeling monotony, without feeling any tiring, you can keep on practicing as far as you master these 11 facets. Sleeping is a kind of a situation without which we can't balance our day-to-day mental state because it is a lot of unfinished, half-done issues are in the mind. So during the course of day, accumulating, ultimately toward the end of the day, it's a full of half-finished things. So at sleep only, either you finish it off or forget about and refresh your mind to the next day. And therefore, mind goes to a kind of a state where unconnected with the faculties, individual faculties, and it is ruminating the same thing that you did in the daytime. If you see cows, during the climate, they keep on grazing, eating. And when you go and rest, they regurgitate and ruminate the same thing, ruminating the cud. So exactly the same thing happened in the sleep. In the banks also, they open till 1:30 and 1:30 to 4 o'clock, they have to settle down all the accounts in the closed door situation. And once a year, they have a bank holidays where no transaction with the customers, but internally they have reconciliate all the accounts like that. We also in each day do this reconciliation in the sleeping position. It's just the chewing the cud. And therefore, mindfulness is always keep the mind in the present moment. So therefore, in the sleep, that will become a nuisance. And therefore, you have to switch it off. Mindfulness. Mind is living almost in the past. Really in the future, never you come to the present moment. And therefore, in the dreaming or in the half sleep, if you come to know that you are in a dream, if you can come to know that you are in a half sleep, that is some cultures say you are getting all the extrasensory perceptions automatically if you can awaken into the dream. But it is impossibility. So the dream state never happen as far as the awakening is there. Dream state is the other side of the awakening mind. That is how it can completely live in the past and reconciliate all the half-done issues. This is going on, and next day you are ready to new business, new transactions after the sleep. In the meditation also, sometimes through mindfulness, when the breath, if the breath is the primary object, breath becomes subtle and subtle and subtle, mind goes to that kind of a half-dream state. Mind goes to that kind of a half-sleep state or dreaming state. But the difference between sleep and this one is, here you can be aware of this situation. You know the gross breath and become subtle. And more when it becomes subtle, if you have a reinforced mindfulness, continuity of the mindfulness, you can come to know when the breath, like the corporeal, the body or materiality becomes subtle, mind goes to a sphere completely mind-made and full of half-dreams, full of half-sleep, but you can be aware. There you can understand this is not under control. This is not your will. This is not your intention. This is not your volition. But you can be a completely neutral observer. What a rational thing is going to take place. The very good state to understand the selflessness. Things are happening. You are awake. You know how gross to form to this subtle form the mind comes to the continuity of the mindfulness. Still you can be aware, and we are working with whose agenda at last? No one knows. This is not my will, this is not my volition, this is not what I expect, but invariably, unavoidably you can see the mind is working by its own agenda. So there are some people says, there are some thoughts without a thinker. There are some dreams without a dreamer. And that is what we are going to claim, this is my thought, this is my dream, then only the suffering. If you see this thought without the thinker, the dreams without the particular dreamer, why should you worry? Then you can apply the same thing to the awake situation. There also, whenever thought happens, is it me, or is it mine, or is it my soul? No. Some feelings happen, and if you clearly understand, and see, is it me, or is it mine, or is it my soul? No. Then you can let go. It can be desirable or undesirable, you or no one, or whatever may be. That is how you can understand the drama, the game. And it is, you are a mere neutral observer, a distance observer. And you are not the content. You are, if you are going to claim it, that is your foolishness. You are taking everything and ultimately you are worrying, thinking that I have done this and that, you worry yourself. But the meditation leads to you to the point where, just like in a dream, in the meditation also you can go to it. These are some happenings, there is a cause and effect. Being a human, you have a golden opportunity to see it from a distance. And in the dream you can't. Because the mindfulness, the wakefulness is not there. But there's a kind of a similarity in the meditation as well as in sleep. In singular, we can say Buddhu Venawa, Buddhi Venawa. There's something close. Buddhu Venawa or Buddhi Venawa. It appears like something like a joke. In the meditation also the same. Then only you understand we are living in a dream world. Ultimately, once happened, we claim it. What we claim is just a muck, just a aftermath of the event. If you know when it is happening and observe it, it has its own cause. It has its own law, nature of law. And it is due to happening due to the law of mind or law of the climate or other living field. So you have to understand these laws was there before my birth. Even I get enlightened, these laws will be the laws. But now if you can see the law as a law without getting involved with it, without claiming it, without getting hooked up with it, then you are free from the suffering. So therefore the dream state, you can have some similarities in the meditation also, but the difference is in the sleep, you can't claim mindfulness, unless otherwise you have some mistakes. But in the meditation, you can repeat the same half sleep or dream state, specifically related to the Vedananupassana and Chittanupassana level, and there you can see, but wherever you go, there you are. Whatever you see, there you, what you see, that you are. Everything every concept become a reality, and all the realities ultimately appear like a concept. But unless otherwise you see so-called reality, unless otherwise you see the so-called half dream, unless otherwise you see the full dream, you never believe it. It's such a, appear like a mistake. But for the meditator, you can go there and come back, go there and come back. So you can develop the mastery and see that that is why the Buddha says, this is nothing but a dream, nothing but a mirage. It is nothing but dream. So unless otherwise you meditate, you consider them as mystics. But in the meditation you can see, slowly you can understand, we are living in a dream, we are living in a Dhamma, we are manipulating, we are considering a mirage as a reality. That is why our appointments are leading to disappointments. In Buddhism, you can't reduce everything into one reason. Nothing in this world, one cause give to one effect. There are a number of causes going to give number of effects. You can't say this is the only cause for any event in the world. There is no event in the world which is happened by single cause. And it's a multiple causes. And after the multiple causes, when the effect happens, there is no single effect, there are multiple effects. So therefore, our mind is trained according to present education system is a linear system, so we can consider and think about only one-to-one relationship. But the reality is not. It is three-dimensional or it is multi-dimensional, so very difficult to comprehend by the rational way. So many things, many causes, going to give many effects. That is the way you have to understand the Kamma Niyama, Chitta Niyama, Dhamma Niyama. They are integrated each other. But our mind is always try to reduce to one thing. And that is due to our limitation in our thinking. But it is not the way the world is working. But if you wish to write it in a book, you have to reduce to one course. Otherwise you can't maintain the grammar. You can't maintain this linear way of presentation. So therefore the present way of teaching is kind of limiting your mind to a linear method. So that is one way of explaining the world. Is the relationship between this considering many birth and mindfulness? No relationship. You have not been asked to go back or the go future. Be mindful. Whenever you are considering about the past life and the future, simply understand you are unmindful. You are just psychologically or philosophically in a game. So these things are some shadows of the main teaching of the Buddha. So therefore, as far as you are extrapolating past and the future, simply you are missing the bus. So therefore, the day you understand the present moment in a full-fledged manner, these are called deductive knowledges. These are called rationalization. The one, the direct knowledge, the paccakka, under your very nose happen, the deductive knowledge is invariably what is happening. Through deductive knowledges, you can't go to the direct touch. But from the direct touch, the deductive knowledge is a byproduct. So therefore, don't give the priority for the deductive knowledges, then you are psychologically or philosophizing the same thing chewing the cud. Instead, be here, experience, you can't, that's accept. You can't extrapolate, never mind. It is no harm to be mindful here. Once the mindfulness taken a full-fledged, it has three siddhas, or accomplishment, paccakka siddha, anumana siddha, saddhya siddha. Paccakka siddha is under your very nose. And then, once that is established, the deductive knowledge, the anumana siddha, the rationalization, it's invariably outcome of the paccakka siddha. And once that happens, the saddhya siddha, kind of the thing, a percentage there are, you have to believe. You are not omniscient. So, once that paccakka siddha, the direct knowledge, and the anumana siddha, the deductive knowledge give a fair understanding of the tapestry, there are some black holes that you just give it to the saddhya siddha, believe, and overall you can understand. If you wish to understand everything, you have to be a omnipotent, omniscient Buddha. And that is not necessary for your liberation. For your liberation, ask only what is available and what is happening in the present moment. So therefore, these are shadows of the reality. So the mind in the present moment, once that happens, the deductive knowledges and the beliefs will take place, and then you will give it in the proportionately proper place for the direct knowledge, the deductive knowledge, and the belief system. Only the contrast, only the extraordinary feature is, in Buddhism, in Buddhist meditation, first and foremost is the direct knowledge, and then the deductive knowledge, and then the faith. But all other religions, faith is the first and foremost, and they will come to the deductive knowledge. There is nothing to have direct knowledge. Direct knowledge not in this very life. So therefore, in the Buddhism, completely Tupsi-Tupidam, everything is paccakka siddha, the most important, under your very nose. That leads to deductive knowledge, and that leads to saddha. So that is the difference. That is how the practice, the meditation in the Buddhism. is something you have to do yourself. You are not believing, you are not going to take into grant, but the Buddha experience, that is only to the Buddha. But you have to be a Buddha. You have to experience it. And then you can ask the question how much that has a relationship with the past life or the future. Yeah, you find that's not, without that you can completely live a holistic life and go to Nibbana also. Your first statement itself is questionable. The impermanence is the main thing in Vipassana. I think by just seeing impermanence make no much of difference. Vipassana means anicca, dukkha, anatta, all the three. That means impermanence. If something impermanent, it is leading to suffering, torturing and burning. And which is impermanent, torturing and burning, who the hell going to claim this as me? And that is called anatta. So in the physics and other science, they have already gone and experienced the transient nature. Not through the spiritual endeavors, but just by observing. And then whenever something is transient, it is unpredictable and it is torturing. It is disturbing. That is why the classical physics has been challenged by the modern physics. It's a problem now, it's a suffering now. But never they think that this is impermanent, nonsense. So therefore Vipassana is basically, of course, starting point is the anicca, the transient nature, but it is never stopping at that level. With that anicca, transient nature, you see whatever may be transient, it's never going to give a lasting peace. It's torturing. It is disturbing. It's burning. So if something is transient and it is disturbing, is it worthwhile to call this as me, mine or soul? That is the one, only one the Buddha is giving up to you. If something is transient, if something is torturing, will you take it as me, mine or soul? Because you don't see the transient thing as transient. And that is why you think there may be some kind of a satisfaction, some kind of a contentment, and that's why still you are chasing behind it. And that is why still you claim it as me, mine and so on. Therefore, you have not seen yet the complete transient nature and the consequence of the transient nature, that is suffering. And once it is seen, it is natural you to give it up. So therefore, seeing the transient nature itself, you can't say the complete meaning or definition of the Vipassana. All the three. So what the latter part of the question is asking that once someone see transient nature, then what? If something transient, naturally it is a torture. Naturally it is burning. And that is what with the definition of suffering. That's the dukkha, or transient, but not the transient, unsatisfactoriness. It's a burning nature. It's torturing nature. Burning and torturing nature because it is transient. So more and more you have to understand the transient nature, you feel like not in a satisfaction, not in a contentment. Everything is torturing. Everything is burning. And that is the way when you are meditating, when you go to the subtlety of the in-breath and out-breath, when you come, the object becomes very subtle, you feel uncomfortable. You feel boring. You feel monotonous. You feel like cornered. You feel like the insecurity, uncertainty. So this is the truth of suffering. But when it happens, you get up and go. Thinking something wrong in the meditation. If you keep on practicing, if you keep on observing it, the beginning of this, the monotony, the middle of this monotony, at the end of the monotony, or the insecurity knowledge, insecurity-ness, then only you will understand this is throughout your life. Something boring. That's why we always change our posture. That's also why we always change our food. That's why we are changing always our costumes. We are changing everything because nothing is going to give a lasting peace. But each time we are changing, we think, next thing will give you a lasting peace. But ever we are changing, but we have no boldness, we have no guts to face this border, to face this monotony, to face this uncertainty, to face this insecure nature. The moment you wait and see it, you understand the noble truth of suffering. And things that what the people are doing, they are changing the meditation masters. They are changing the meditation objects. They are changing the meditation centers and postures, everything ultimately, it becomes a wastage of time. Whenever you are meditating, the suffering nature is inevitably present. But you never think this as the noble truth of suffering. You think this suffering has to be alleviated, and then I have to advance in the meditation, then there will be another kind of truth of suffering made out of gold, and made out of, from the heaven, and it will come and say, I am the truth of suffering. So therefore, you have to face this reality. You have to face this under your very nose suffering. Suffering means that the monotony, the boredom, the uncertainty, the fearfulness, the outcasted nature, the cornered nature. Don't attribute to say it is done by this and that or that external thing. This is the what you have to one day accept it. It is a kind of a guts you have to have, kind of a faith and kind of a endeavors. Then only one asks, from the time, from the date of birth onward, it was there. But throughout you was escaping it, thinking there may be another way out. More and more you to wash it off, it is bound to come again and again. One day that you will let it come, let it happen. That day you are mature enough to understand the next stage, the truth of suffering. It is always coming and knocking on your door. You say, not now, come tomorrow. And next time also it will come and knock on your door, he says, not now, come tomorrow. So ever postpone. The truth of suffering is not so far away, it is just under your nose. It's always there. So once your maturity comes, once your faith comes, once your endurance comes, the knowledge comes, you just accept it. Till that it daily comes and tap on your door. But this truth of suffering is concerned, there is no male and female nature, there is no ordained and laity, there is no rich and poor, there is no western and eastern, it is the dead of life. But we think this suffering is due to that or this, therefore it is not belongs to me. You find a reason outwardly for the suffering. The moment you understand this is what the Buddha is telling, it is just obvious like under your nose. To accept it, you must have boldness. You must have your own maturity. You must have this radical reflection. Otherwise, you always what you do is push it off, telling, I need truth of suffering, not this suffering. This suffering is something inferior, it is something to do with outwardly. I need the truth of suffering, noble truth of suffering, but not this. So we will keep on pushing and pushing and pushing. Escapism, simple escapism. The moment you understand it, you will see this is the human nature, this is the human mind. Everyone is in the same boat. But you, till you understand, you think this suffering is make me inferior. By accepting I become defeated. And therefore I must try to find a reason to get rid of that and then to expect kind of a truth of suffering, or noble truth of suffering coming from the heaven or something like that. But till that, it is you are avoiding. You are not ready to accept it. That is what that truth of suffering was there. Before your birth, even after your death, that is there. It is nothing related to the meditation. Meditation is a completely different business. Meditation make you bold. Meditation make you more rational, more radical, to accept, going against the grain, going against the whole the worldly knowledge and accept it. Once accepted, you are there. The worldly knowledge is asking you to not to accept it. Accept it means kind of an inferiority, kind of a second hand you become, and therefore try to escape it and try to overcome the suffering by the technology or by the health, knowledge, and all the kind of thing. They will come and assure you, though, if you pay me, I will give you this pleasure, that pleasure, I will make you free of suffering. But the Buddha says, all are temporary. Just mere acceptance make you fully bold, you are making very radical, and won't make any inferiority because it is something realistic. I didn't hear you, sorry. Until you... No, selflessness is not a state. There is no such a state like selflessness. To understand the transient nature, to understand this existing suffering, self is going against. Self is inferior, ego feels inferior to accept this suffering. It says, I can do something to get rid of that, I can make it permanent, I can make it pleasurable. So ego is coming and giving so much of promises and the helps and the opinions coming. So we prefer to have the opinions of the self instead of negating it and accept the truth, accept the suffering. The day you accept it, it's a natural negation of the ego, natural negation of the center, the egocentric thing. And you find there, even before there was no self, it was just a concept. After negating also, you find no self. So there it was not an existing one even before. But you will be, under your very nose, accept the suffering as suffering. And make you reinforced, make you more bold, make you more immune to next moment. You cannot escape. You don't consider this suffering is meant for me, it is due to my mistake, it is due to someone's curse, or due to past thing. All these are just theories, all these are just explanation. The moment you accept it, that's all. Somebody?
Let's say somebody who suffers because we are anguished, we feel anguished.
This is the problem called euthanasia. It is due to the present day medicine that that kind of a lingering patients are full of the hospitals. And the patients keep on going due to the oxygen and the iron heart and keep on going. I think if you can ask the particular patient, answer is there. Now we are talking not the particular patient's consent, it is your concern, your relatives' consent at how you feel. If the terminal patient to give the will, it's simple. Either he will say, oh, I want to die, or I will to continue. And this is not what you are talking about, how you feel as a relative of the terminal patient. That means your ego. Its anguish is out of your ego, because it's your relative. The next bed, maybe have yet another terminal patient, it is not a problem for you, because it is not your relative. The relativity is the one causing the problem. That is this your own ego. The Buddha says, Pemato jayati soko. Whatever you love, through that love only the suffering comes. The next bed, have the same kind of patient, you have no love, you have no any kind of relationship, so there is no suffering. You are not worried about his termination or euthanasia. So therefore, it is not the matter of the patient at the terminal, it's a matter of we and our relationship with the patient. So it's created one, it's artificial one. So no one can answer because it is something we are talking about unperceivable. We are not through the direct touch we are talking. If we are, we have to ask the patient. In the Holland, they are the very first people started with euthanasia business. He told if the patient says in the last will, under such circumstances terminate my connection, the doctor can do, and doctor has no accusation. But in the UK, not. In America, different states have different laws. Some people say if the brain is not working, patient is dead. The other province says if the heart is not working, patient is dead. So under such circumstances, the euthanasia become a very lingering problem. And when I'm reading, I read in Holland, under such circumstances, there's one doctor. He takes the responsibility and he called Dr. Death. Very famous it seems. And they said that he had to pay a lot and he go and terminate the patient. So if you have your own direct experience, we can discuss and finish the answer. But what we are now talking is not our direct. We are talking about our close friend. He or she in the terminal, but we can't talk with her or she, him or she. Therefore, we have no first-hand experience. And there was one book called as Where There Is No Doctor. So, and at the end, he gives a lot of medical systems, little more than first aid, but not like a doctor, how to do and how to tackle the patient. And at the end he says, there may be some cases, the patient is terminal, and accept it. Because the patient is in a more advanced stage to accept it. You as an attendant, you can't. But the patients, they are ready. So if you can communicate with them, answer is there. In the same question, here even if you give a chance, the patient can't talk and patient can't express it, whatever may be, that you have to accept there's a cause and effect relationship. Whatever the treatment you are going to give, it has to die one day. Some very rarely, it can recover also, that we do not know. So your affection or your feeling has a very little significance also over there. Either doctor or the nature has to decide. You can suffer, you can create a case and again suffer and suffer and suffer. Where are the limits? So therefore, when the Mahasi shadow, he has gone to the coma. And I think at the age of 78 or something like that. And his personal doctor came and he knows, he's one of the devotees of the shadow. And he knows that monks can't decide upon that. If the monk's going to decide, that will be a criminal or parajika offense. So he asked monks to come and pay respect and go. He gave an injection, finished. And in the royal family, I don't know, George number 5 or something like that, he also went into such a coma. All the royal members came and the doctor told, no hope. So we have to put it into the death. And ask the consent of all the royal members. They say, if that is the case, take the decision and went off. And then he gave the injection. And after 20 years, the doctor came and told, all the royal members are responsible for this immature death. So therefore, he is going to publish the case and ask him for ransom. And then the royal family get together and found all the people given the consent already gone. So he told you claim, we don't take. Finished. So by the time the people given the consent also died. So doctor's claim has nothing. So these things are shadows of our real suffering, and these things come out of our affection. And affection is we are concerned about our image. We are concerned about our ego, not the particular case. Because if it is so, you must feel equally for the neighbor's termination. And the next bit, terminal patient also, because everyone is suffering. But you are not worried, you are not concerned because they are not your relative. If it's a universal love, if it's a universal compassion, you must suffer for all the patients suffering in the present moment in all the hospitals. You are not so universal. You suffer only for your relative because that is why the Buddha says suffering comes through affection. Premato jayati soho. And the people we have never heard about, people never connected to our life, never give any kind of suffering for us. Only the people near and dear given the thick tablets of suffering. That's why the Buddha says, if you can renunciate it, you can get a distance and consider everyone as brothers and sisters. And there, what the hell we can do if you read the newspaper daily? There will be number of death announcements, number of sick people. Oh, it's a truth. It's a universal thing. You have no special affection to your one because everyone is the same. I mean, not in the completely enlightened way. That is the meaning of the renunciation. Get a distance from and consider everyone as much as possible equal. Definitely, because it's the intention. The Buddha says, the Chetanaham bhikkhave kammam vadāmi. Your intention is the action. The immediate cause for the action is the intention. If the intention is a bad one, equally you will get the bad consequences. If the intention is a good one, still you are going to get the consequences with the good one. The best thing is, have no intention, if possible. Being a president itself is a crime. I mean, this is the second one. There is no mind. It's a joke. In Sri Lanka, 74% or more are Buddhist. So whenever a person died, there's a banner appearing, may you attain Nibbana. So everywhere on the road you find the banners telling, may you attain the Nibbana. So when you go to the Burma, it says the Nibbana is so cheap in Sri Lanka, only you have to do is die. And then you are in the Nibbana. It's like, in Burmese it is like kangkung. Kangkung is a very cheap greens sold in the market. In Sri Lanka, Nibbana is like kangkung. Once the death, you are destined to Nibbana. I mean, this is the way you make rituals. And very easy, it is not costing anything for anyone. Someone dead, he says, may you attain Nibbana. But the Buddha says, Nibbana in this very life. It has become such a case because all the other religions talking about the liberation after the death and going to the omniscient one, you can sit on the right side of the omniscient God and you will be the eternal bliss. If you are doing a wrong, you will destined to the eternal heaven, hell. So these concepts are now creeping into Buddhism also, and therefore Nibbana becomes something beyond the level, beyond this life. So therefore for the last 40 years, when the Vipassana is being expressed, it says, Vipassana means in this very life. That is, this is the only religion or only way out to experience under your very nose. And that state is the place, no mind. That is why I mentioned that when there is no intention, that is the state, you can feel 1/5 of no mind state. When there is no pain or pleasure, there is another 1/5 of us understanding the no mind. When there is no perception, good or bad, there is also 1/5 of the no mind state. And when you feel no object, I mean, cessation of the object can come with a complete unperceivable object, that's also 1/5 of the no mind state. But when these things happen, you develop kind of a fear. You develop kind of a monotonous. You feel like cornered. You feel like uncertainty. And that is why Eric Fromm is very well, he says, this is the fear of freedom. Fear of Nibbana. That has to be understood while you are in the meditation. Whenever the liberation comes, you are the very person blocking it. Because you wanted to have the mind, you want to have the ego, you want to have your way, Your liking and disliking is still the Nibbana. No. No. You have to give up your liking and disliking. You have to give up your mind. You have to give up all the intentions, then only the Nibbana. So therefore, Nibbana is a thing never you can achieve by meditation. Meditation is a different art to make you bold, to accept the truth as truth. But the Nibbana is always under your nose. But the thing is, you are the very person blocking it. You are the very person, say, come tomorrow, not now. So that is what you call the ignorance. That is what you call the arrogance. So you have to give up the ignorance and the Nibbana to come, a non-reaction way, unassuming way, then the Nibbana is the only one is coming. I mean, no mind state, no intentions, no will, no volition. Just like a flower, when the sun happens, it blooms. No intention. It happens. This is the Niyama Dhamma, or universal laws. In almost 1 hour finished, there are no any mindfulness or meditation is rejuvenating, senility and that kind of redundant or erosions will be reduced. But the Alzheimer, that I don't know, I am not much of a familiarity with that I have seen some people living with a very Buddhist way of life and generous and compassionate, still they suffer Alzheimer. But I don't know specifically with the people, those who have developed mindfulness or vigilance, still undergo the Alzheimer's. So that still we don't have enough data. So, but I think even that happens, or Alzheimer or completely erasing of your short memory and kind of thing, he or she will not be suffering, but their relatives may be suffering. For example, Venmala Chancha, it's a very famous teacher in Thailand, and he has mentioned at my old age, if such a situation happen, don't let continue this suffering, let it finish by itself. And he went vegetable for 2 years, and he was in a wheelchair, and if you feed, he will swallow, but otherwise no senses. But he has a very great and respectful teacher, the disciples, they keep on helping him. And he went on for 2 years or 3 years, I don't know, a period where they are not responding like earlier, and he was just like vegetable and it's going on. For him, it is not a question. He was prepared beforehand. But the disciples were not ready to give up as he requested by his last will, and the lingering happens. So therefore, those who are prepared, they are ready to accept it. But the unprepared people find it is they are not dutiful, or they are not doing their duties. Therefore, they try to keep on lingering the situation and extension of the suffering. That means, I think that problem is not existing in the animal world. Very bold, very clear, finished. But in the civilized human world, yes. If there is a mind, there is the end of the mind. But if you are, I don't know, cases like with Achancha, he managed to see while living the end of the life, the end of the mind, end of the breath, end of the anger, end of the desire. That is called Nirodha. So meditation means whenever thing happens, materialistic, or feelings, or perception, or volition, or mind, as and when it arises, if you are sharp enough to see, you are bound to see how it ceases to exist. Each and every time if you are observing the cessation and breath, you can see how it starts and passing the middle, how it ceases to exist. Out breath also you see the beginning and the end of it. When the desire comes, you are bound, you are trying your best to see the onset of the desire, and you become desirous, and ultimately how the desire ceases to exist, how the anger ceases to exist. Therefore, he is always focusing his attention to see the beginning, and the Buddha is assuring, if you see the beginning, definitely you are bound to see the end. Yankinchi samudaya dhamma, sabbanta nirodha dhamma. Pardon me? So, last thought, or last feeling, or last perception, or last will, everything has the same pattern. So, Achancha, I believe, even though may not be fully enlightened, but he was enough. He has seen the cessation while living. Not after becoming vegetable, not at the death end. He rehearsed it, he advanced it, and see it. Therefore, the last moment of the death is just another event, not a very big event. Because each and every breath, he managed to see the cessation. Each and every emotion, he managed to see the cessation while he was living in a diligent life. So therefore, the last death event is nothing extraordinary. So that is our task. Don't wait till the last moment happens, where our faculties are not supporting us, and we are nowhere, situation not undergone. What the hell we can do at that moment? But do it now. Do it here. As the in-breath happens, see the beginning. Then you are bound to see the end. As the out-breath happens, see the beginning. You are bound to see the end. As the anger rises, see the happening of arising. And you are bound to see the end. See the desire as it arises. Don't try to push it off. See the beginning, and you are bound to see the end. That is why the Kondaja says, Yankinchi samudaya dhamma, sabbanta nirodha dhamma, whatever bhante arising, he is bound to cease. Your task is to see the beginning. And Buddha is assuring, if you manage to see the beginning, definitely mind you are bound to see the end. That must happen in this very life. Don't wait till the last moment happens, and if you can't, win in the national games and the district level and kind of thing, you can't imagine you can go and win the Olympic Cup. You have to do the local task first, show yourself, and then only you can qualify to the Olympic, and there it may or may not be. But don't wait till the last moment happens, when you become old age, sick and deathbed. There are no hope. So when you have the prime young age, we have the full capacity, see the beginning, the middle and end. So therefore no question of the last of the mind. It is yet another event, has nothing significant. We hoping no more question. We will take a break till 2:30 till 3:30 walking meditation. 2:30, 3:30 walking meditation, 3:30, 4:30 the break and the walking, and 4:30 we will be meeting here for a Dhamma talk. Thank you very much for participating.